Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart Allen Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the very end of March and the first few days of April. And it's a very, very serious information that we have to give you today. I have taken less time to look at the news, which is the same news. It's over and over and over again. Everything is the virus. Even the weather is about the virus. And there could be an earthquake and they blame it on the virus. There could be a car accident and it's from the virus. Everything's about the virus. It's bizarro.
But I have some news stories, very interesting
You
ones
do?
about the virus.
I have, well, that's all there is. There is no news. That's just one news. Where do I begin? So what I decided to do is I have pre-posted an article on my blog for April 1st. But because of what I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure what will happen April 1st. And so I'm going to give you information from that blog because it's important that you have it before anything happens. It's not an April Fool's joke. The world is locked down, and this is the first time in human history that most of the world's population is under a lockdown, a quarantine, martial law, or some other type of deep restrictions. We here in Michigan, as well as most places in the United States and the world, cannot leave home except to buy food and medicine, or if you have an emergency. All non-essential businesses and services are closed. Those who can are working from home, which we do anyway. Many are running out of funds, despite the promise of checks in the mail, and I'll be talking about that. All the good that had been accomplished in the U.S. is now wiped out, and part of a very devious, demonic plan is behind the scenes. But they will fail and be destroyed. The world will be reborn, markets will return, schools will reopen, jobs will be available, the so-called virus will be vanquished. So just hold on and know that all is as planned and all will be better than before. Have no fear. Do not panic. And what does panic mean? P-A-N-I-C. Patriots are now in control. Remain calm and take this time to turn within and thank God for allowing you to witness the defeat of evil on earth. The COVID-19 issue was created by the deep state to destroy what President Trump and Q are doing. However, it has been turned against them brilliantly and keeping people home so no false flag attacks can happen. No civil disorder is possible. Arrests of the evil ones can be made with no problems. Their escape is blocked. And what have we noticed in the last couple of weeks? There have been no war, no terrorist attacks, no false flags. Now this is very important for you to understand, and I try to bottom line it as much as possible because you're not most of you are not scientists, I'm not a scientist, and so on, but I'm going to tell you what I know as best I can. The virus is actually a simulation. It is an AI alien signal that is activated by the 5G network created in China. That's right, President Trump calls it the China virus. It was activated there. It turns on a body response that appears like a virus and can be deadly to those with pre-existing conditions and weak internal systems. The AI transmissions make your own body produce and manufacture a viral structure that appears like a coronavirus. Therefore, you cannot infect others and you cannot catch it. It develops within you if you have been affected by 5G and AI. The simulation is modeled after SARS, MERS, and HIV. And it was created in the Wuhan labs in China, modeling this virus after what I just mentioned to you. Under cover of this issue, Q and company are silently arresting and indicting the evil cabal on the earth. These famous people then issue a statement that they have been infected with the virus in order to explain their public absence. This goes for Tom Hanks, Prince Charles, Justin Trudeau, and many others. Fortunately, April 2020 is an 8 or silver month. And should we be online next week, I will explain that. But for now, that's all you need to know. I suggest practicing using the names of God from my new books.
I'm sure this is
Yes, and the other one, please, the newest one.
this one.
Yes. And all the exercises within them. I publish them now for a reason. Don't be an April Fool. So, many of you have heard online, there's going around, that there may be 10 days of darkness. What does this mean? News blackout, internet going offline, and maybe these things will happen, but I tend to think not. Why? Because without news, without internet, especially these days, without cell phone activity or availability, that would do more harm than good. It would cause panic, fear, rioting. People who have issues need to call for ambulance, go to the hospital, need to get emergency services online. This would not be available. So I don't believe that that is what the 10 days of darkness mean. Hugh had referred to 93 days of darkness before, and that was just he didn't communicate, or they didn't communicate for 93 days. Very symbolic. I believe that whatever happens will start around April 1 and end on Good Friday. And I think all will be back to normal on April 12th, Easter Sunday, which is the day of resurrection. Resurrection of humanity. So, here's some other information that you need to know. The Federal Reserve is merging with the Treasury Department. The Federal Reserve, which is a private, independent corporation which funded the United States government and others, will be eliminated and declared bankrupt. And all of the trillions of dollars that have been stolen from the American people over decades of time will be returned into the economy, and therefore all of this mess that we see now will be reversed very quickly and in a very good way. The end of the Federal Reserve will also mean the end of federal income tax. I remind you, and this is in my books, that in World War II, the United States declared a national emergency. The national emergency then removed a lot of rights from the American public and imposed a federal income tax to pay for wartime. However, in 1945, at the end of the war, the federal emergency was never removed. It is still in effect. It will be removed, and it has been removed, and that's why people, when you see President Trump speaking before the American flag, it no longer has a gold fringe. We are no longer under that maritime law.
And they also took down the presidential seal.
Yes, this is a new world, a new country. It's the way it should be now. So a new financial system backed by gold again will be in place. So that being said, I want to just give a little bit of some news because President Trump and the Republicans wanted to give everybody a check, I believe once or twice, in order to rejuvenate the economy and to make up for the money lost from not working, etc. But the Democrats used the coronavirus pandemic as an opportunity to push unrelated political agendas. And they have blocked, or they did try to block, relief to American businesses and families struggling to survive as a result. And on the Senate floor, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell let the Democrats have it, especially alleging that they were trying to extract concessions from airlines over their carbon footprint with the economy hanging in the balance. They ought to be embarrassed, he said. This is no time for this nonsense, and he's right. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who I like to call Upchuck Schemer, countered that they were dealt an exclusively Republican-authored bill. Yeah, because you didn't do anything, so they had to. The Democrats blocked the massive economic rescue package and created negotiations this week, but issues having nothing to do with the coronavirus have been impediments to the relief package, according to the Republicans. And they wanted to include bargaining power for unions, higher fuel emission standards for airlines, expanded wind and solar tax credits. Nancy Pants Pelosi added an abortion funding part to the. What has that got to do with the virus? And she wanted immigrants to be paid, illegal immigrants to be paid to just hang out in the country. Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas, said, "The report is correct. Pelosi and Schumer, I like to call him Schemer, are willing to risk your life, your job, your retirement savings for a radical left-wing wish list that has nothing to do with this virus. They are disgraceful. Nancy should be put in prison for the rest of her life." Not only are these completely unrelated to the coronavirus epidemic, they could prevent companies from participating in the loan programs altogether, directly causing unnecessary layoffs. He warned that using the Phase 3 coronavirus relief package was a political opportunity. That's not what this is about, McConnell said. This is not about unrelated policy changes. This is about direct assistance to the American people and to small businesses and to hospitals and others who are in need, because we in government at all levels, in order to deal with this pandemic, have basically shut the economy down. The demands arose after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi returned to Washington, D.C. from her devastated San Francisco area where people are just living on the streets for years, and she's done nothing to help them. And Pelosi said the House would introduce their own bill, as she was reportedly seeking a laundry list of items to be included in the emergency legislation, including wiping out up to $10,000 in student loan debt per person, securing election security funding for illegal aliens, and other add-ons that Democrats, including Pelosi, have pushed for, including food security aid, small business loans, and other measures for workers, and things that had nothing to do with this virus. And so, fortunately, I guess she was called out on all of this and publicly embarrassed. And the White House and Senate leaders of both parties announced this week that they have an unprecedented emergency legislation to rush sweeping aid to business workers and a health care system slammed by the corona pandemic. The urgently needed pandemic response measure is the largest economic rescue measure in history and is intended as a weeks or months long patch for the economy. So people will start to get checks, but maybe not till May, I don't know. The unprecedented economic rescue package would give direct payments to most Americans, expand unemployment benefits, and provide a $367 billion program for small business to keep making payroll while workers are forced to stay home. That results to $1,200 per person, $2,400 per couple, and $500 per child. And the taxes, federal taxes, will be delayed until July 15th. Many states are delaying their own income taxes. Mortgage payments are delayed, student loan payments are delayed, and there are no penalties. So people need to check with their local state government to see what pertains to you where you live. Prince Charles, who's the first in line to the British throne, has tested positive for coronavirus. We know what that means. The prince, this is what the statement said, which I find quite amusing. The Prince of Wales has tested positive for coronavirus. He has been displaying mild symptoms, but otherwise remains in good health. Well, if he has the coronavirus, he's not in good health, is he? And has been working from home throughout the last days as usual. What the heck does he do working? What home? Buckingham Palace?
He waves at people.
Yeah, he waves at the window. He's working from home, waving at the window instead of outside. Poor little hand must be filled. He must have a hand brace.
Maybe.
Yeah, poor thing. But you'll be happy to know that his wife Camilla, born Camillo, Duchess of Cornwall, more like Cornball, 72, she tested negative, or he tested negative. And they're staying currently at their home at Burnham on the Balmoral estate in Scotland, self-isolating,
Must be terrible.
hiding behind the curtains and hoping nobody drags them out in handcuffs.
Well, I read he's down to 2 attendants now.
Oh my goodness. Did I read a story where he actually dropped something on the floor and called someone from another level to come pick it up for him. Seriously.
He has a cook and like a personal valet, and then that's it. He's
They
down to
wipe
2.
his butt and blow his nose
Probably.
for him and all that.
I would settle with 2.
I'll take one. I'll
Okay.
take one.
Well, one for each
Because
of
you
us.
don't do anything for me like that, so yeah.
I'm not going to wipe your bottom with no.
Why? It's beautiful.
No, it's not.
Anyway, Prince Albert of Monaco also has tested positive for the COVID-19. We know what he's done in the past as well.
It's interesting that all these high-level people are testing positive.
Yeah, and that's an excuse to get them out of sight from the public. And by the way, just some facts for you. The flu shot does increase your risk for the infection. Yes, it helps simulate the virus. And the flu shot in Italy is what increased all the cases. And you'll be happy to know that zinc, vitamin C, quinine will kill the viruses, as will methylene blue and chloroquine. Now, some other things we should know. It is believed that because of this pandemic in Iran, plandemic, right? Which, by the way, even what's that cartoon? Simpsons. They predicted it 22 years ago. Iran's regime could crumble under the pressure of the coronavirus outbreak and the sanctions against them. And also countries like Venezuela may collapse with Iran. How sad. And so actually look forward to that one. Good riddance to Iran government and to the Venezuela dictator. And speaking of the Venezuela dictator, this is showing you that the indictments are coming, and they are here. The U.S. Department of Justice unsealed a searing criminal indictment against Venezuelan socialist leader Nicolas Maduro and several co-conspirators, accusing them of an array of narcotics and trafficking-related crimes, including efforts to smuggle drugs into the United States. At a press conference, the Department of Justice officials announced a slew of charges pertaining to Maduro's conspiracy to commit narco-terrorism, which carries a minimum 50 years behind bars. The DOJ underscored that while he is currently in Venezuela, the 57-year-old is known to travel outside and is now offering a $15 million reward for information that will lead to his capture. We have to know something that we could get at least some of that millions.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. The department also accused the country's chief justice of money laundering and bribery, which resulted in thousands of Venezuelans to lose their jobs and livelihoods, and Venezuela's military head of further trafficking violations. According to U.S. officials, Venezuela has long allowed Colombians connected with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, known as the Spanish initials FARC-U, to utilize its airspace to fly cocaine north through Central America and into North America. Moreover, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jeffrey Berman, claimed that the illicit cooperation between the Colombians and Venezuelans had been in place for over 20 years and represented a deliberate endeavor by Maduro and his regime to flood the United States with cocaine. So this will lead people to changes in Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, Iran, and Syria. And I just want to make one other thing before I hand it over to you. There are some positive things that have come out of all of this. For example, air and water on Earth are cleaner now than ever before. Fish, I told you, are in the Dead Sea. Dolphins are swimming in the canals of Venice for the first time in decades. Herds of elk are in the streets of northern Japan. Coyote, this made me not so good, but coyotes are wandering the streets of U.S. cities. We have them plenty around here. Yeah, there are javelinas in Barcelona. I didn't know they had javelinas. I thought it was only here. Anyway, and many biblical animals are appearing in Israel. So we go from dark to light. And as Q says, after the storm, the sun will come out.
I have some information on Maduro too, which I put toward the end, but since you brought that up, I just want to see if I have anything that you didn't mention. Okay, well, one thing, I don't know that if you mentioned this or not, Maduro said that he's prepared to fight the U.S. or the neighboring.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
And he claims, of course, it's over his oil fields.
Which are shut down.
Yeah. And what else did he say?
We don't need his oil because America now is the biggest producer in the world.
Yeah, this was interesting. The Trump administration accused Maduro and his military of harboring drug traffickers, guerrillas from Colombia, and even Hezbollah.
Yeah, that's not unusual. Mm-hmm. And he's also been funneling them to Mexico to cross the borders as illegal aliens. Yeah. And taking trafficked children and making believe they're part of their family.
Okay, here's the other one that I don't think you mentioned, which was interesting to me. It says charging Maduro was no easy task because sitting foreign leaders normally enjoy immunity from prosecution under U.S. law and international norms.
Not Maduro, not Trudeau, not all the people in Iran. No more.
But apparently 60 countries worldwide, including the U.S., no longer consider Maduro the country's leader.
More than 100.
Instead, they view Juan, and I don't know how to say this name.
Oh, Guaido.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Juan Guaido, the head of the Congress, as Venezuela's rightful leader. And Trump called Guaido a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans.
Yes, he will soon have a control.
But they say his life, of course, is in danger.
Of course, yes, of course.
All right, so with that said, I'll give you my coronavirus news, which I think is interesting as we move along through all of this here, keeping the country at bay. Did you know that any New Yorker leaving is going to be under quarantine, and that in Rhode Island the police are actually stopping cars from New York? And
they should be doing that anyway, even regardless of a virus.
Well, they're stopping everybody and they're putting them in quarantine. So that was under direct orders.
Florida said they don't want anyone from New York coming down.
That's a direct order from the White House. So it leads me to think that there's people who maybe they want to arrest who are trying to flee New York.
Yes.
And just here recently, like within the last 24 hours, Trump greenlights the call up of 1 million reservists to help battle. That's the excuse, to help with the emergency. He has authorized the call up of up to 1 million reserve military personnel in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. So they can order individual members and units under their jurisdiction to active duty not to exceed 24 consecutive months. So that means, in my mind, that there will be other things that will be put in place in the next 2 years. It's a plan.
Well, there'll be trials. And there might be a lot of protests about the trials.
A lot of things are going to go on. So they cannot have any more than 1 million members on active duty at any one time. Right. So there's a reason why they're calling all those up.
And there's also a lot of troops at the Canadian border.
That's just what I was going to say, yep. And then here in Michigan, they're actually calling Detroit a hotbed of the coronavirus. And Trump, of course, lashed out at our governor.
Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer.
And then he went on to carry on at GM, General Motors, and Ford. Open your stupidly abandoned plant.
Yes.
Because he says that they were going to give us 40,000 much needed ventilators very quickly. Now they're saying only 6,000 in late April, and they want top dollar.
That's the governor. She is the worst governor in the recorded history.
And Trump said it's always a mess with GM CEO Mary Barra, and that he will invoke the Defense Production Act, which of course is a piece of wartime legislation which gives the president the power to order manufacturers to produce essential supplies. He's ordering them to start making ventilators now, and Ford should do the same.
Unfortunately, our governor makes Cuomo and Newsom look good.
And the other thing that's interesting to me, because we've been telling you, and you mentioned this about vitamin C, it's very cheap. I think this It used to be $8 for a pound, now it's up to 15.
Wow.
But it lasts a long time.
And it's really good.
So this is an interesting story because now it says New York hospitals, they're listening to our podcast,
Maybe.
are treating coronavirus patients with high dosages of vitamin C
There you go.
after promising results from China.
How about promising results that I
know.
told them?
We told them.
No, I actually before you
We
did.
did, no. So anyway, I told them when you weren't here that time. Anyway, what's interesting to me is they're giving their intensive care patients 1,500 milligrams of intravenous vitamin C.
That's nothing.
I know, and that's my point. And they're saying
At least 10 times that.
they're doing this 3 to 4 doses a day, which is about 6,000 milligrams. So that 1 teaspoon of this is 5,000 milligrams. Now, if you're not used to it and you get this, it can give you diarrhea. But
that
just back at home anyway.
clears out your intestines.
So start a little on the small side, increase up every day, and I have taken myself up to 10,000 a day without any problems.
Me too.
But for me, my general daily dose in general is around 5,000 milligrams per day. I don't know what you do a usual day.
That too.
About 5. So as you can see, we're not that big of people, so to speak. So I'm not. So anyway, I'm just telling you, so you can get this and very cheaply, and this will help your immune system. So now they're saying that what they're giving their patients is 16 times the daily dietary vitamin allowance of vitamin C.
The FDA, whatever it was,
Exactly.
the crap amounts that they say is
Yes, they're also giving the drug hydrochloroquine,
They
antibiotic.
are.
Yes, that's
Good.
in New York Hospital.
Good.
The antibiotic azithromycin, as well as various biologics and blood thinners. Why blood thinners? I don't know.
So they can kill the people that they try to heal.
Maybe. And it says patients with coronavirus who suffer sepsis. They also have significant drops in vitamin C levels because they need more.
Yeah, 15,000 to 25, 30,000.
Yes.
That will kill
That
everything.
is what people need. So get your vitamin C, and that will help as long as you're home anyway, and it will help to clean out your system.
I want to add something else though. If you're going
Yes.
to take that and mix that in distilled water and drink it, which is what
Steam
you're supposed
distilled
to
water,
do,
right.
I would also recommend adding some Pro-RG9 and also chlorella, because chlorella will eliminate radiation and toxins from your intestinal system, and it will help the whole
And then
situation.
of course we've been telling you about our
Put a few
methylene
drops
blue.
of that in there.
Yes. So
Have like a little health cocktail.
Yeah, to help with your whole system overall. Now, what's interesting is because of what Trump had said about chloroquine, which I believe we talked about also the tonic water, right? So the tonic water plus the methylene blue is basically the same as chloroquine.
Yeah, and by the way, I just have to add this. Our Nick Whitmer governor said that if any doctors in Michigan use chloroquine, they will be prosecuted or reviewed in some way. And I'm just going to say, she used to work for George Soros. I found that out recently. She is a puppet of the deep state and should be removed.
Okay, well, what's interesting, now remember, this is what our governor is telling people not to use. An Israeli pharmaceutical company donates 6 million doses of chloroquine to the U.S. to treat coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
It's scheduled to happen on March 31st,
Right.
it's around the corner, and they expect to provide over 10 million doses within a month.
Good.
And the vice president of the company says we are committed to helping to supply as many tablets as possible as demand for this treatment accelerates at no cost. President Donald Trump has argued the use of chloroquine may be effective in treating patients who have been infected with the virus. We're going to make that drug available almost immediately. And Trump says the nice part is it's been around for a long time. It's not going to kill anybody.
Right, it's been
and
over
it may
100
help,
years.
And it could be a game changer. They're very powerful. And in addition, the German pharmaceutical giant Bayer AG also announced that it will donate 3 million tablets of its malaria drug, Chloroquine, to the U.S., which is made of chloroquine phosphate, and it's not available for consumption in the U.S., but President Trump has ordered the FDA to put chloroquine through clinical trial testing immediately to test the virus. So that's why we're telling you that you're hearing all kinds of stories out there, and you've got to make up your own mind what works and what doesn't work. Now remember, we have been telling you that this is not as transmissible as they're talking.
It's not.
So I have an
You
article.
can't catch it. It develops within you.
U.S. political leaders have been going to the gym, traveling abroad, and not socially distancing, despite their own advice on coronavirus.
Because you don't have to do that.
Donald Trump has been captured on camera shaking hands. Mike Pompeo went to Afghanistan, held talks with leaders. Rand Paul went to a Senate luncheon and worked out in a gym. Daily White House briefings. Trump and that, I don't know how to even say his last name.
Fauci.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
It's Italiano.
Okay, Fauci. I don't know how they said it though in English.
They say Fauci, I think.
Okay, well anyway, so when Trump and all his senior advisors, including Tony Fauci, who stands there and makes faces, they're all together.
Well, he's older than me.
78,
He probably
I
has
know.
stomach problems.
But the point is they're all standing close together. They're not social
And
distancing.
they're breathing on each other, shaking hands and all that, because they know you can't catch it.
Right. And so then my next article, what is the real death rate for coronavirus? Because there's only 0.6% of patients in Germany that are dying.
And in some countries it's less than 0.4%.
Yes, and Italy has 10% because they're saying they all have different testing regimens.
And because they injected the Italians with a flu virus that accelerated this production within them.
And the testing makes a difference on how they die or how they collect their data. And it says that in Wuhan, where it began, let's see, that their death rate was only around 1.4%, where
Right.
the WHO, the World Health Organization, was saying it was going to be between
It should
3 and
be
4.
the World Health Organization because they lie about everything.
So in Italy, like we said, 10%. Australia was only 0.33% so far.
I'm telling you people, you cannot catch this.
And it says-
it's transmitted from space.
99% of coronavirus deaths in Italy are patients with existing medical problems. 99%. And the death rates of coronavirus may be half the initial estimates, according to World Health chiefs. They're doing a new study,
Right.
and they're saying they compiled the data on coronavirus cases in Wuhan.
And plus, people are dying, and they're just saying they died from the virus when they
Yes,
didn't.
I
They're
saw
just
that,
putting everybody
And
under.
of course, I don't have any proof, but like I have heard healthcare workers say that, like on the death certificate, it'll say died from heart or pneumonia, whatever, and they come back the next morning and it's been changed to coronavirus.
Right. So
we
it's
don't
all
know.
faked, people. The news is hyping it to scare you.
Yes. And then Donald Trump claimed that more people would die from depression if they can't
Yeah.
get back to work.
That's right.
And he said that you would lose more people from depression than from the flu, and you might even have suicides by the thousands, he claims, if you put people into massive recession or depression. And then there was another article I read by another, I didn't put his name here, but it's in the links. He's a PhD of some kind, that's all I know. And his question is, will deaths of despair outpace deaths from coronavirus? He said that the Imperial College in London modeled a coronavirus epidemic, which then apparently the Trump administration is following. It's a 100-page U.S. government, whatever. And so it called for extreme social distancing. But he goes on to say that the Imperial College London model is woefully inadequate because it does not include the use of personal protective equipment. It does not include the chloroquine and the hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and vitamin C. And he says it does not take into account deaths of despair from a sharp rise in unemployment that could be triggered.
How about suicide?
It's all in here. That's under death by despair. And apparently this says it could last 18 months or longer.
Oh, that's bull BS. Don't even listen to that
They're
crap.
doing that to scare people.
Of course.
And he says that whenever the unemployment rates increase, that there is an increase in these deaths of despair, which include cardiovascular deaths, suicides, homicides, cirrhosis of the liver, and admissions to state mental hospitals and state prisons. So when the economy goes down, all these things happen. So they say how many additional deaths will be caused in the U.S. by the increase of unemployment rates when you have to shelter in place. And deaths of despair from crashing the economy via lockdowns will significantly add to the final death toll and may even end up surpassing fatalities from the virus itself, which is what Trump said.
Besides, I told you, people are dying from other things every year, 10 times, 50 times more than this.
Yes. And in Mexico, President López Obrador
Obrador.
told his people to get on with their lives.
Yeah.
And so people are going to the beaches. He tells them
Good for them.
He said, keep the economy going. He said, take your families, go eat at restaurants.
And you know what? There's no big increase in Mexico. They don't have 5G.
He said that so far there have been 2 deaths and only 316 people affected.
Out of a country of 150 freaking million.
Yeah, 100. And here they say 130 million.
Well,
That's because they aren't counting all the little other ones.
and plus like 40 million of them in the U.S.
And that's probably true. But anyway, so he's showing a picture of he and his wife eating out and saying, if it becomes a panic, I'll tell you. But in the meantime, get on with your life and keep the economy going.
God bless him.
Now, this was also an interesting article that came out of Mexico. Mexican Governor Miguel Barbosa, who's governor of the city of Puebla, said the wealthy are at risk, because of course we know they have problems.
Because they get 5G.
If you are poor, and we're poor people, so we are immune. Now, of course, scientists are saying he's what they call him, stupid, I think, and an idiot. You might like those terms.
Yeah,
Stupid
my mother used
and
to
an
call me
idiot.
that.
And Mr. Barbosa said, if you're rich, you're at risk. If you're poor, no. And we're poor people, we are immune.
Because they don't have 5G.
And he said, excuse me,
Uh-oh. Woo, woo.
he said that rich people can travel and the poor can't make international trips.
Well, that's all. You're right.
And he said, rich people live into their 70s and we're poor and we don't live that long. And then, this was an interesting one, he said that some Mexicans believe that poor sanitation standards have strengthened their immune system, which is true. It can be true because they get out, they play in the dirt, and they work hard.
Didn't he say that we swim in sewage and so we're immune?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And then on Fox Business Network, there was a woman who was one of their reporters called Trish Regan, 47 years old. She said that coronavirus was a scam invented by the Democrats to impeach Trump on March 9th. And on March 13th, she says, I'm leaving to focus on my family. So what she said was that the hate was being leveled at the president from the left.
True.
The chorus of hate being leveled at the president is nearing a crescendo as the Democrats blame him and only him for a virus that originated halfway around the world. Sadly, it seems they care very little for the destruction they are leaving in their wake. Losses in the stock market, part of the political casualties for all of them. This is a time to be united, not to be encouraging hate, and the hate is boiling over. She said many in the liberal media using coronavirus is an attempt to demonize and destroy the president.
Yeah, and society.
Yeah. She said she accused the Democrats of whipping up mass hysteria. This is impeachment all over again. They don't care who they hurt.
That's right.
They told us how much they crave a recession as a way to get rid of Donald Trump.
They said that a long time ago.
Yeah, and she said on the same way that, or this article says on the same day that she did her rant, that Hannity told his audience the political opponents of Trump were using the coronavirus to bludgeon him with this new hoax. Okay, and like I said, now she's home to focus on her family because people didn't like that.
Tough.
Now in Britain, this is interesting. This reminds me of the Nazi era. The British are being told by the police to report their neighbors if they don't stay home. So now they've set up hotlines and snooper forums and online forums so you can report your neighbor.
Yeah, let's report the Buckingham Palace who's leaving there.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And speaking of Britain, this was even more interesting. On the official UK government website, the www.gov.uk/guidance/high consequence infectious diseases, otherwise HCID, as of the 19th of March 2020, COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a high consequence infectious disease in the UK. But they're still doing all
But don't
this.
tell anybody.
So what's the definition of the HCID? Acute infectious disease. So they're saying it's not. Typically has a high case fatality rate. So they're
Doesn't.
saying it's not.
It doesn't.
May not have effective prophylaxis or treatment.
Because it's not contagious.
Often difficult to recognize and detect rapidly. Ability to spread in the community within healthcare settings. Requires an enhanced individual population and system response to ensure it's managed effectively, efficiently, and safety. They're saying it's not this. There you have it, right on the official. I looked it
That's
up
the
myself.
only thing that came out of Britain that was true.
I looked it up myself, and yes, it is there. So I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, one of my favorite topics is always the Pope.
He's in big trouble.
Is he? Well, what's interesting is he delivered his first OB global blessing
Right. Which is only supposed to be Christmas and Easter.
or any major Christian holiday.
And he did it now. You know why? Because he ain't going to be around Easter.
So it says that Catholics who watch the Pope's appearance online will be offered forgiveness for their sins if they receive the blessing. And on top of that, the Vatican is granting emergency plenary indulgence for divine mercy.
So they're back to selling indulgences again.
They always haven't had indulgence. They never took them away.
I thought they stopped that.
No, they never took them away. And so it says, because of the pandemic, anyone who with the will to fulfill the usual conditions, which is the sacramental confession, Eucharistic communion, and prayer according to the Holy Father's intentions, that means the Pope, as soon as
I know what his
possible,
intentions are.
can receive a plenary indulgence every day. And then they go out and they list other ways you can get the special indulgence.
So go out and sin and then just come get your indulgence.
That's what they do. And the interesting thing is at the end of this article, it says the church is going to pray for those who find themselves unable to receive the sacrament of the anointing of the sick and the viaticum.
I'm sure he is.
And grant the faithful a plenary indulgence on the point of death. Listen to this one. Provided that they are duly disposed and have recited a few prayers during their lifetime.
Hail Mary.
A few prayers during their lifetime. What does that mean? And now you can be forgiven for all your sins because you did a few prayers in your lifetime.
But guess what? Most of the people I meet have never even read the Bible, so they maybe haven't said a prayer.
But these are Catholics. They're not supposed to read the Bible either.
Then, that's right. Just do what they're told.
That's right. So you have to remember that one. So this story I'm saving for last because it was kind of interesting one.
That must be very special.
Yeah. And then Governor Cuomo of New York.
Oh, lovely.
This was interesting. Now he's going to launch an antibody test to identify who has recovered from the coronavirus without knowing it. So that young
they can
people,
add to more of the statistics.
so that young people can get back to work and restart the economy. In other words, if you're young, and I don't know what the cutoff date's going to be, but they're supposedly in place. They can test you to see if you had it, you didn't know it, then you have antibiotics, and you can go to work.
So I thought, drug you up and send you out.
Yeah. Then I had the Maduro article, which you covered, and this one was for you.
Oh.
This is about Belarus.
Oh, why me?
Because the leader, President Alexander Lukashenko,
Like him.
has famously scoffed at the coronavirus as a frenzy and psychosis, and he's advising his citizens to hit the sauna, drink vodka, and get back to work.
Let's move to
It
Belarus.
says the country of 9.5 million, which is between Ukraine, Poland, Russia,
My family lives there.
Yeah, and has reported 94 cases of coronavirus. Belarus's soccer league is still playing.
Good.
They're promoting premieres in the theaters. The markets are open. The shops, the bars are open. The restaurant, the churches are open. The Air Force is conducting field exercises.
And nobody's sick.
Orthodox faith. Well, they have 94 cases.
94 out of 9.5 million.
Yes. So they're going to have an Easter thing on festival from April 1st to the 12th.
And nobody's died in there either.
It's a theme he has pounded relentlessly in recent weeks, convinced that the unprecedented measures against the pandemic are designed to benefit some and not the others.
And they call him a dictator.
And he slammed the border closures of his neighbors as useless and absolute and utter stupidity. There's that word again.
He's true.
And not only that, guess what?
Ete pravda.
He cited Trump's warnings, and I also said this last week, that the cure should not be worse than the disease. And that's his justification for his own course of keeping factories and businesses open and refusing to close the borders. His main idea is that panic is more dangerous than the virus itself. So listen to this. So he's definitely on his Trumpian side of this argument, and even more Trumpian than Trump himself, because he does not implement any restrictive measures.
Хорошо.
He has predicted the virus will have passed by Easter, which Orthodox churches celebrate on April 19th.
Yeah, but in U.S. it will be the 12th.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But anyways, I thought you would like that.
And you know what? And you know what you could put on the vodka? Tonic water has quinine.
Yeah, but they do say now here in the U.S. He even says you can wash your hands in vodka and you should drink it to kill it.
I agree with him.
But the FDA here says that's not good.
Don't even tell me what they say. Here's nonsense.
Okay, and my last story, which I thought was very interesting, which at midnight on March 27, 2020, Bob Dylan released a new song called Murder Most Foul. It's his first studio release since 2017 and his first original song release since 2012.
And it's 17 minutes long.
Well, 16 minutes, 55 seconds.
Yeah, so 17 minutes, 17 is cute.
Yep, you coughed.
No, you contaminated me.
Must be it. Anyway, so it says, with a title likely derived from Shakespeare's Hamlet, the song revolves around the circumstances of President John F. Kennedy's assassination and its ensuing impact on popular culture, making many references to songs, films, musicians, artists, and celebrities who would come to prominence in the years following President Kennedy's death. And according to this article, there were 75 songs referenced by Dylan. And what was also interesting is I saw a meme at the same time, just within the last day or two, going around on Facebook, where it had Trump talking to President Kennedy. And then one of his aides were saying, who are you talking to Trump? Because apparently they can't see Kennedy. And now here we have this song.
What do you mean? He was talking to President Kennedy?
It was a meme. They just had the, not a real thing.
Okay.
But the point is they have Trump talking to Kennedy. Now this song comes out about Kennedy.
And they're bringing up Junior a lot too.
Junior?
Kennedy Jr.
Oh, Kennedy Jr. Yeah. Because they're claiming he had a Q on his tie.
And that he's still alive, which I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
So again, our message to you is to take care of your mind before anybody else takes care of your mind. We don't want to fear. We have these great books for you, our Heights of Health, alternative medical things, so you can take care of your mind. You do what you can to boost the mind patterns.
I want to repeat something again because
Go ahead.
people that they want me to repeat it because you need to understand. I'm going to repeat this again.
Again?
Yes, this virus is a simulation. It is an AI, artificial intelligence, alien signal that is activated by the 5G network created in China. It turns on a body response that appears like a virus and can be deadly to those with pre-existing conditions and weak internal systems. The AI transmissions make your own body produce and manufacture a viral structure that appears like a coronavirus. Therefore, you cannot infect others and you cannot catch it. It develops within you if you have been infected or affected by 5G and AI. And the simulation, which was created in Wuhan, China, is modeled after SARS, MERS, and HIV. And that's what I want you to remember from now on.
Yeah, and this is our blue block, which blocks what you were just talking about.
The signal.
The signal. And this was created by the same people where we get our methylene blue from.
Those two things, you'll live very healthy
you
life.
have to take care of your pre-existing conditions, obviously. So
Yeah, of
don't be
course.
silly about things. But you do need to take care of yourself, which we have talked to our people about taking care of your body forever, as well as your mind. So these are the other books, the Revelations, Time and Space, History and God, the Template of God Mind, the King Bee. This series goes with the Heights of Spirituality. So this goes together. It's a great time of year at home to read. And I believe this week we're going to be hopefully getting 2 of our new books on Kindle, 2 more. I'm not sure which 2 yet, but those are coming out. You want to also remember to do your inner work, which we talked to you about. Universal Law, which I wrote over 40 years ago.
Wow, you're that old?
Yes, I am. Hyperspace Plus, Healing Archetypes and Symbols. We have so much information here. And of course, this has been out over a number of years. We've been together about 25 years.
Was that? Yeah, that was you.
That was me.
That was you.
So before we were together, we were doing our own work.
Yeah.
So we've got, this is like decades of things that we've been putting out. So even if this is your first exposure, we've been doing this for decades. So you also want to remember, I talk about the violet bubble. I'm wearing violet, which filters and helps protect.
Violet, not purple.
Right, that's why I'm wearing violet, so they can see the violet. And there's also, I have a violet pen, and the top of this book is violet.
Violet is the color
Violet.
of protection and filtering.
Yep.
And the color of your crown chakra.
So we have our ultimate protection, and these are in the books. Green psychic flesh, because remember, emotions, lungs are emotions. You need medium green, oxygenate.
Oxygen is medium green energetic color.
That's right. And then of course you want to keep your chakras balanced, your chakra bands, not the way the New Age taught you to do it, but this is the correct way. It buttons you into your body. And I told you before, please never, ever, ever, ever flesh with white, unless you want to die.
No, but I want to emphasize also that they should be reading about the Sephirot.
Which is
in I
which
believe,
one? This one? Right there?
page, I think
Or
it's
is it in
page
this one?
40 of this book.
I'm sure
Yeah.
we've got it in a couple of them.
Yeah, this is a diagram, but there's other pictures.
Oh
that you
yeah, I
can
have
look
one
at.
in color.
Yeah, that's a better one that you're gonna show them now.
I'm not sure if it's in this.
It
might-
should be, in there, but read the Sephiroth, practice that. You can't get sick if you use it. You
Oh, here
will
we
be
go.
completely healthy.
This is in correlation to the chakra bands. So we have lots of very good information. In all of our books, as I said, these are years and years of research for the two of us. We both did it independently of each other before we met 25 years ago. So you have decades worth of our experience here that is available. And as I said, we have a lot of our books on Kindle. We've got 2 more of the newer ones. I can't remember which coming out. I'm hoping within this next week. And then
Yes.
we have 2 more that should be coming out
Yeah,
within
the
the next
sequel
month.
to 13 is coming. The sequel, I'm done with it, but someone is still working on it.
Well, it's still in layout.
Yeah.
It's almost done because they have the layout. Then we go through the edits again to make sure it's where we want it to be.
That's
'Cause-
what I want it to be now, so it should
No,
just
it's
be
not.
out there. Yeah.
Because you can't just give them a
Sure you
manual.
can.
No, you can't.
No, it's beautiful the
No,
way it
you
is.
can't just give them a manuscript. You've got to lay it out.
It's a nice, beautiful book.
Not yet. It will be. So it's still in layout. Heights of Deprogramming, which will be its companion, is going out with it as well, and hopefully within, say, the next 30 to 45 days.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is, but it's considering everything. You have plenty of other material to keep you busy. So, like I said, we've been at this for many decades, so we know a lot of things, but we don't tell you what to do. You have to decide for yourself. And nobody can heal you but you. Nobody can fix your mind but you. You're never separated from your source. You're always connected. That's the same.
You don't have the plus?
Not in front of me.
Because the plus, each drop is 4 times the regular.
Yes, but it depends if you're like a more sickly person. You really should only be taking one of these. You don't want to do anything too fast. I also recommend, he was talking about the sauna. The far infrared sauna is fabulous. Hightechhealth.com, that's the one we have, and it's amazing. That also helps you build and boost your immune system. And get out and get some fresh air if you can. You know, if you,
Actually, methylene blue works well if you go in sunlight.
yeah,
It
helps
activates,
it.
and I take that with the NADH, which works with the mitochondrial production in the cells.
Yeah. Is
And
that in here somewhere?
It's like an immortality formula.
Okay, and I will remind you one more time, please. No questions on Facebook. No questions on YouTube, because if we spend all of our time answering everybody individually,
Then I never get anything.
we would never get anything done. And we have a lot of work that every day we are busy, busy, busy.
My phone starts 6 o'clock in the morning. I turn it on, and there's all these messages from Singapore and
All over the
Europe
world.
and everywhere else.
So we are busy 24/7. That's our life. If you have questions that you're seriously interested in knowing the answer to, books, or you can also join our website, expansions.com, get a membership, less than $1 a day, support us that way so we can continue bringing this forward to you. So,
Oh, and just the Turkish trip has been postponed till September, and we're working on the final dates, and so I'll bring that to you maybe by next podcast.
and I am praying that the Italy trip and the Iceland trips, will continue forward at the same dates we have posted, but we won't know until, of course, we move further with the situation in the world. That's what it is right now. So,
Yeah, so I'll be home till September, I guess.
I guess.
What the heck will I do?
I don't know. So,
They said, there was a guy they interviewed, they said, that he had a choice of quarantine for this coronavirus. He could be A, stay home with his wife, or B, says B. Didn't even know what it was yet.
and who was that
I
guy?
didn't, it wasn't me. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
didn't
me.
think so. Would never be.
No.
All right. So with that said, hopefully that if the internet's up next week, we will be back next
We
week
don't know.
we're not
but
going
even,
anywhere.
and if it's not, don't be afraid.
Yeah,
It will
that's
come.
right.
It'll come back.
So remember what you know, because you're already connected inside. You already know everything you're supposed to be doing. Obey the laws. Stay inside. Take care of yourself.
And
There's
drink
lots of things you
vodka,
could do.
vodka and tonic water.
Steam distilled water, lemon juice, sea salt, so on and so forth. Okay? Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.